All right, let's just jump right in. All right. So, David, I just saw your movie about a week and a half ago. Fantastic. It's already getting Oscar buzz, red carpet buzz, and it already won South by Southwest. And you did it all in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Talk a little bit about that process and the quick turnaround that you did to get that film made. How long did it take?
Physical production was probably about 15 days right in the Christmas season.
Wait, 15 days.
15 days, correct. Yep,
1-5.
1-5, yep. We were coming out of the tail end of the strike, so, you know, IATSE and SAG and Michael and Jay had been developing an idea for a script, and as soon as the strikes had ended, I got the phone call that they were doing it, and they were like, "We're on a plane now. We're landing in Baltimore. Let's make a movie." And it was very much an organic process of who can we grab together, what cameras do we have access to, and let's shoot a movie in Baltimore.
Was it easy shooting a movie here in the state of Maryland?
Absolutely. I mean, I've lived in all the major markets, you know, Los Angeles and Atlanta, and spent time in New York working. And of course, I'm a little biased. I'm from here, born here, and I have the home field advantage. But it's extremely easy to film here. Leaning on the state film office and the city film office, they were more than amenable to everything that we needed and were requesting, and it was just supremely easy. And the local crew here and the local, you know, technicians and skilled technicians, we were a very limited budget, and we had to lean on a lot of really smart and creative people that could really help us make this movie, and that was what really made it possible.
So there was the infrastructure here to support a project.
Absolutely. It's all right here, and the more I've been thinking about it and the process of it and just years and years of being like kind of boots on the ground producer, it's everything can be done here in state, you know, from ideation to premiere. Like, it's all done here. Physical production, camera houses, post-production facilities, it's all right here. And then just the texture of our geography. We have mountains to the west, you know, shore to the east, city centrally located, close to DC, close to New York. It's all like right here.
And let's talk about producing that next generation of people that would essentially be hired by one of David's productions, possibly. Roz, I look at TV and I'm seeing your alum all over the place. You all are like my fall TV watch list. Seriously, I'm seeing Kristen Siriano, I'm seeing Tracy Toms and The Devil Wears Prada coming out, and then she's on 911. I'm seeing Rachel Hilson on HBO Max. I mean, what the heck is in the water at the BSA? What are y'all doing there?
Thank you so much. We are connecting our students with the working artists of Baltimore. We are saying that it's great to be an educator, but really what we need at Baltimore School for the Arts are working artists who are in the profession. And so we have a film department, a dance department, a music department, and we're bringing in some of the best and brightest in Baltimore to inspire our students. And then it's also a commitment of time. There are a lot of academic requirements to get a high school diploma in the state of Maryland, but we're maximizing our time as much as we can so that students are pursuing what they're passionate about, which is the arts. And there's not a lot of places in Baltimore where they have the opportunity to do that at the level that we're working at BSA. And so I'm inspired by those alumni, and so are our students and staff.
Talk about the trickle-down effect. Are your students, are they seeing productions like David's production and they're saying, oh, I want to act in that, or I want to do set design for productions like that? Are you seeing that at that high school and middle school level?
Yes, absolutely. I think that that is a part of the fabric of Baltimore. People talk about Baltimore, DIY town, quirky, blue collar, all of these things. Our students represent that as well. They are creating and originating ideas and making their own lane. Like, I think Baltimore is a place where we don't wait for someone to create the thing. We just create it ourselves, and we don't wait until we have the funding for the thing. We just start doing it, and networks such as these to sort of connect and make the things happen. So there's definitely a desire amongst our student body to work right here in Baltimore.
But it's not just Baltimore, it's Maryland. So Stacy, tell me about your program and what you all are doing throughout the state.
Thank you. Well, so similar to Roz, our organization, Arts for Learning Maryland, is about bringing working artists, professional artists, whether they're choreographers, filmmakers, dancers, sculptors, writers, into our schools. And it's not about training them to become a professional artist. It's about integrating the way that an artist thinks, that creative process, into the learning process, whether it's literacy or math or science, because I think what we're finding is that education has become, there's been a narrowing of the curriculum, there's lots of rote memorization. That is not what is going to create the kind of workforce we need, the kinds of people in our society that we need. And the thing about integrating the arts is that it connects kids to what matters to them, because you think about using choice and voice, and that makes the learning stick. So for Arts for Learning, there's this one purpose, which is like having better academic outcomes, educational outcomes for our children. But what we're also doing is generating $3.5 million into our economy by putting working artists to work. And what we want is for those artists to stay in Maryland. We need them to stay in Maryland. I really think they can be the backbone of the Renaissance of Baltimore, but they have to be able to pay their mortgage, they have to be able to eat, and so having them be able to earn a living as a professional artist and supplement that by being able to go into schools really is a twofer. Great academic outcomes and great artists in our state.
But Stacy, how are you all doing that? I mean, arts are an afterthought.
Well, actually, when I started at Arts for Learning Maryland 20 years ago, it was right after No Child Left Behind was enacted. And so that's when we really saw the narrowing of the curriculum around what was tested. People started teaching the test. And so what we did was we thought, okay, we actually need to show and demonstrate and have the receipts that the arts lead to academic achievement. And there are numerous studies that show that. And once we were able to gather our own evidence, we were able to convince school systems to invest in it, because it actually leads to better results than some of the other things that have been tried. And so we find that if you start with the results, you can get schools to buy in, because everybody wants kids to have a good education. And so we've seen great results there. And Roz and BSA, the best results in the state. I mean, come on, really, incredible results. So we need to celebrate these things about Baltimore that are working and about Maryland that are working. There's great things here.
Talking about success, Charleston had a James Beard Award this year, but we have another James Beard Award winner right here in D. Watkins. You can clap, yeah. So you've eaten your way into a James Beard Award.
Something like that.
Yeah, so you've stimulated the economy by eating and drinking your way through this city, correct?
Yeah, I should get a medal
Yeah.
for being greedy.
Talk a little bit about making that switch, and did you think that you'd find success through that lane as opposed to your past writing?
You know, I don't even feel comfortable saying it's my lane. I think for me, any and everything I do in regards to my career is literally connected to every single last person on this stage. When I was a little kid, I really, really, really wanted to be an artist, and people thought that was like the biggest joke in the world. I even scribbled some pictures of some people in my neighborhood and took it to my teacher, and they hung it up on North Avenue, and I'm telling people like, yo, this is gonna happen. Then unfortunately I was street poisoned and spent about 28 years doing the dumbest things imaginable that we don't have to get into in this moment. But in that process, I found my way back to the arts, not as a visual artist, but as a writer. So since I started my career, I've been doing everything in my power to get other artists to come to schools, to get people, non-traditional readers, to read some of the things that I've written or that my friends have written, to get people working on film sets, to get people actually making films and wanting to be in films, and just being super happy at seeing how art has the power to transform so many people, and playing my small role as being the person that just screamed like, yo, you know, you could do this for a living, and then sometimes it works and it makes me really, really happy.
Talk about being in that writer's room and some of the projects you've done here in Baltimore for people who might not be familiar with your work. You've done a few few projects here.
So I made a film that I worked on, that I made, that I'm kind of proud of, called "We Used to Win Here," about the death of AAU sports and how it's changed. And it was fun shooting that and doing that in Baltimore. I worked on the David Simon show, "We Own This City," in the writer's room, and it was fun to work on that project because we were just talking about it backstage in that room with David, and you know, who's a journalist at the core, and some of the other people in the room who have journalists or just people who have really, really strong opinions, like the strongest. I've had some of the healthiest arguments I will probably have in my life, and I think that's the best way for all of us to grow. Like, you can literally get into a space and totally disagree with a person, but you can take all of those different things from that argument and turn it into art and make some stuff that we're proud of. I worked on another film called The Slow Hustle, about the murder, the death of Sean Suter. And all of these projects, they had different points. It was different kinds of productions. The people behind the films, in combination with me, had different ideas, but we all figured out how to actually make something that made it out into the world, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm even more proud that so many people who never thought they would work on a film or be on set or be on camera got a chance to play too. And I just, you know, that's a blessing for me.
What is it like being a black man working in those rooms, and how do you fight against being stereotyped and bringing that authenticity into those rooms without falling into tropes or stereotypes?
You know, that's a great question. I think for me, I read and I study probably more than most of the people I've ever met. So when I go into these spaces, I never, and it's just like, I mean, you're a journalist, you know, like, it's like, you know, newsrooms are whiter than a Kings of Leon concert. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know the deal. Like, you know, I worked at Salon I used to work for Salon.com for 10 years. Like, we would, black employee would see another black employee, and we'd be like, well, where'd you come from? So I get the score. Like, I totally understand the rules when I'm walking into a space. So I think success for me is, you know your stuff. So I'm not pushing back because I'm trying to make some type of political point. I'm not pushing back because I feel like I need to say something about something I may disagree with. I'm pushing back because it didn't happen like that. Logically, it didn't make sense. This person wouldn't do that. This person wouldn't say that. This should look like this. And this is the facts that I have laid out to actually prove why I'm saying what I'm saying. And I think, you know, some people feel weird about that, but then some people like that kind of aggression because they're from a different demographic, but they're as passionate as you are about some of these topics. And I think, for me, that's been my experience. And also, I'm an acquired taste. So some people, they love working with me, and then some people, they just like working with me. But either way, you know what I'm saying? Whatever I say, I back it up. I have receipts for everything, and I think people respond to that all the time.
David, what's next for you here? Is your next project going to be here in Baltimore or Maryland? And I know you've been a little cagey about answering that, but I'm trying to wear you down and get an answer.
We'll talk backstage about that. But yeah, there are a few, creatively, there are a few projects that we're talking about doing and definitely bringing back to Maryland. But for me, like, what's priority right now is kind of promoting the industry as a whole here, and also some sort of workforce development and career opportunities for those who might not have the chance to get on an active film set. It was very difficult for me to get on one, and I'd like to be able to present somebody with the chance to kind of have that opportunity and blossom from there, and just really promote the region.
Growing up, what were you watching? Any Baltimore-based or Maryland-based movies or projects?
I watched a lot of things growing up, a lot of very obscure stuff. Definitely some John Waters mixed in with some David Simon stuff. Barry Levinson, big stuff there. But most of the time it was, very, very obscure art house kind of films.
Okay. Roz, what is next for BSA under the current state of education and this current state of political, what we're dealing with?
Yes.
How do you teach? How do you encourage? And how do you inspire this next generation?
Yeah, I think there's an element of resistance that's necessary right now, that our young people are being very influenced at times by what they're seeing in the national news and what's happening politically right now in our country, and they haven't really navigated that and figure out what to do and how to deal with their feelings and what is coming up for them. So I think as educators, as artists, we have to continue to encourage young people to speak up, to find their voice, to resist oppression, to resist stereotypes, to resist this notion, particularly for artists, that what you're doing isn't good enough, that you should consider being a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or whatever. And those things are great. We need those people. We need electricians, we need plumbers, we need all types of people to make the world work. But we also need artists. Culture, society would not be what it is if it didn't have the storytelling that DB is doing in his film, the storytelling that D. Watkins is doing in his writing and his film, the work that Stacy is doing. We wouldn't be a culture and a society without those things. And that is for everyone. There's something that DB said about workforce development that's really standing out to me right now, that for generations we have told our young people, in order to be successful, you must go to college, get a 4-year degree, and then it sort of increased that institutional learning of get a master's degree, get a doctorate degree, get a PhD if you want to be making money and working at the highest level. But really, sometimes maybe it's a workforce development path, because education has become exorbitantly expensive and everyone's family can't afford that. So how do we find pathways to the profession for young people here in Baltimore that might not include going to NYU and going into $150,000 in debt before you ever start making any money? No offense to NYU, if there are NYU fans out there. I just want to, with our students, continue to help them find ways to uniquely be themselves, find their voice, and use their art to speak up about the things that they care about and the things that we care about right here in our community in Baltimore.
Yeah, I'd love to add to that.
Yeah.
I'm really vibing with you right now. Governor Moore put into place as a state apprenticeship program, because I think he too sees that the pathway doesn't need to be college. And one of the things that we're really curious about now is creating a cultural workforce apprenticeship pathway. And I think when we're thinking about how to move forward in this state, I do think we need to be thinking about public-private partnerships, because there's a lot of action that's going on, a lot of assaults every day, and we've got to figure out in Maryland, how do we come together around this? Bloomberg Philanthropies invested in a program here in Baltimore called the Bloomberg Arts Internship, and it is placing high school students into paid internships in our cultural organizations, large and tiny, and it gives kids an opportunity to see what is it like to work and get paid for it. What Bloomberg found out when they did a multi-city, multi-year evaluation of their internship program, that in Baltimore, they were seeing the things you expect to see for kids who go through something like this. Like they could get into college more easily. They could get more scholarships. They're more likely to finish college. But the thing I think that they were most struck by, that in Baltimore, kids who go through this program are off the charts with civic engagement. And so when you think about what does our state need, what does our city need, it needs civic engagement. And so I think we need to do a lot to think about how do we make sure these young artists come back to Baltimore if they leave or stay in Baltimore? And so I think like the next thing is thinking about apprenticeships post high school that keeps our kids in this workforce and actually builds out our workforce for the future. I think that's where the state will be stronger.
So would you, just to follow up on that, would you say that this has been like the best you've seen or the most promising you've seen in that aspect?
Yeah, I do. I mean, yes, by far. And we have more kids that want to participate in this program. We have more cultural institutions, and we've actually converted it so it's not just nonprofits, but small businesses. And so, yeah, I think that we need to invest there. And if I'm not mistaken, like Governor Moore is hoping by some time period that 40% of our high school students will have finished an apprenticeship program by the time they graduate. And so, yeah, I think there's something about the workforce development in the cultural sector in particular and with our young people. I think that's something to invest in.
And you've had this job for the past 20 years?
My job, yeah, I've been around for a while.
So how does this compare to other administrations that you've seen in the last 20 years then?
Do you mean federal or state?
State.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, the apprenticeship is what is one of his, I feel like one of his pillars, and it's being built out now. And actually, we got the Bloomberg Arts internship credentialed as a state apprenticeship. So we've started to, put some wheels on it and get it moving. I feel very optimistic about this particular pathway.
And John, if I could add one thing, there's a great book that was just released by Senator Corey McCray, and he's been doing a book tour and going around, and it's called The Apprenticeship, I think, or The Apprentice.
The Apprenticeship That Saved My Life.
Yes, thank you.
He's speaking at Arts for Learning on Monday night. Come out.
Yes. If you get a chance to hear his story or read his book, it's amazing. Like just growing up right here in Baltimore, bounced around to different schools, kind of ran into trouble, high school dropout, and then he went back and then he found this amazing apprenticeship program that completely turned his life around. So I really have a lot of respect for what Senator Corey McCray is doing right now, and going out to schools in different places to say, listen, I was that kid in school that like kept getting in trouble, having a hard time, but as soon as something clicked for me that I can do something that I'm skilled at and make money, and start to buy houses and flip houses and get into real estate, and then that leads me into civic engagement and being a public servant. It's just really amazing the power of when you can find a young person's passion and talent and match that up with the way that they can make money for themselves and their family and sustain themselves. That purpose-driven type of education and connection and relationship building, I think, is really, really key.
Do you were about to ask a question earlier. I saw you were waving your microphone.
Oh, sorry, I was nervous.
Oh, just nervous. David, gonna give us anything?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think it's really going to be an all hands on deck type of situation where a lot of people are going to have to come together and much like the film industry, collaborate on a collective idea and really push this through. And that a lot of the time it does come down to the incentives. And in order to kind of have this workforce development, these programs will, donate their time and money to these programs if there is a steady incentive here for other major shows to film. There are the, smaller micro budget things that people can work on, but the workforce would really go into those bigger projects, the Marvel type, HBO type things. So we really need a steady and dependable incentive to have that workforce go right into.
Because you said you did worked in Georgia, correct?
Correct.
And they do insane.
They do exceptionally insane incentives, and New Jersey's doing it, New Mexico's doing it, and we don't have to be that, we're a smaller city, but we're have a lot of heart and a lot of grit, and I think we are competitive where we are. We could be a little better, but again, it's going to be an all hands on deck and a lot of people having conversations to move it forward.
Okay. D, what's next?
Outside of the film I'm doing with David, my visit to BSA and Stacy and I bringing writers in the schools back.
Bringing it back.
You had me going for a second.
I'm stepping. What? No, all of this is gonna happen.
You're speaking it to existence.
It's gonna happen. Yeah, I've been to every school 1,000 times. How have I never been to BSA? We've brought writers in schools back before, and why not make a film? What we here for? But outside of the writing, I've been doing a lot of ghost writing, but I've also curating an exhibit at the Enoch Pratt Free Library that is going to document Carmelo Anthony's Hall of Fame career. It opens on October 25th, and the cool thing about that project is it's coming with a symposium, which is a year long of community-based workshops ran by people with non-traditional careers. So we have NBA executives coming in, we have trainers coming in, we have stylists, creative directors, people who work in film, people who work inside and outside of sports coming in to teach workshops. And the cool thing is the first one, I wanted it to be with a local guy, so I used Wallace Lane, who writes at the Baltimore Banner, and I just found out his event is like sold out unless we move it to a bigger room. So people want this education, they want the free workshops, they want to learn how to take their art and actually make a career out of it, and I'm just happy to play a small role in trying to make that a reality. I'm super proud. Hope you guys can make it out to the opening October 25th. It'll be a block party. You guys don't look like you go inside of jumps, but I'm pretty sure there's gonna be like a DJ and maybe like some adult beverages for the people who do that. And then maybe like some food trucks for the people that like food that comes off of trucks.
Stacy, really quickly, what do you want people in this audience to know about your organization, something that you need immediately?
Well, there's someone sitting in this crowd. It will kill me if I don't say we're celebrating our 75th anniversary. We are. So, yeah, it was founded here in Baltimore in 1950, then inspired 30 other affiliates nationwide. We impact 150,000 kids, but I'm actually really worried about protecting access to those 150,000 kids. And so part of the reason we are having a 75th anniversary, we usually don't have time for galas and parties because we're too busy doing the work, is we are needing to protect access. And in protecting access for students, we're also protecting the artists that we employ to create those opportunities. And so that's something that really matters greatly. The federal action has impacted us. All of our district-wide after-school programs were cut. And our summer opportunities were cut in half last summer. And so, the philanthropic community came in and filled in that gap. So we actually were able to serve more kids last summer, but I don't think the philanthropic community can do that ongoing. And so, as you said, we got to pull out all the stops. We got to come together. There's too much at risk. And there is no more noble cause than to ensure our children have what they need. And so that's what I would just say. We all gotta step in and figure out how to protect our children in this assault.
And Roz, with all the attention that your alum get, is it easy for people to just say, "Oh, BSA, they'll be fine"? Or,
Yes.
you know what I mean? And just take you all for granted?
Yes, absolutely. We are a Baltimore City public school. Sometimes people think we're a private school or a charter school. We are not. We're in the same funding cycle as any other Baltimore City public school. I'm very grateful that we do have a nonprofit organization, the BSA Foundation, that was found in tandem 45 years ago. We're celebrating a little bit, last year was our 45th anniversary, so we're celebrating a little bit of that as well. And so we just continue to need that support of local folks who want to see the students of Baltimore have the best education that they can possibly have.
And quickly, David, tell people what they need to know about this production, this project, and where they can see it, and
When it's coming out?
I'm not the top secret one that you're not going to
No.
tell us about. I mean,
The Baltimoreans is,
Yeah.
it's now streaming on Apple TV and Amazon, and it's still in theaters, The Charles, and I think it's at the Senator still, so go check it out, and I think it'll do another round at the Senator around Christmas time.
And do you have a favorite scene, real quick?
The improv scene.
Yeah, it was great. All right, we're at time.
All right, I have a few questions from the audience. First question is, what's one local story or project that you've seen recently that reminded you why this work still matters?
That's for anybody?
That's for anyone, yeah.
So HBO had paid me to write a film that they didn't want to make after the strike, but I think the story should be told. It's about three guys. They did 36 years in prison for a crime they didn't commit. They wanted as children. And I think the story should be told because they were arrested because it was like a big news story. And then political. And then they came home because of political reasons. So it has nothing to do with crime, has nothing to do with an investigation, and everything to do with the role politics in the media plays in crucifying somebody or turning them into an angel. So, I mean, I might be biased because I wrote the script, but I would love to see that. I would love to see that film made.
Anyone else want to answer that? I can go to the next one if not. Oh.
I think another John Waters film's overdue.
Oh, for sure, for sure, for sure.
All right, I'm going to jump into the next question. A lot of people working in the arts are constantly balancing creativity with the need to make a living. How do you personally decide when to take on work for passion versus for pay?
Now, I'm going to feel like a ham if I go again.
Oh, do it.
In this economy, you have to be able to do both. The paper I was writing for, I didn't want to write for that paper, but that was my 9 to 5, and that's how I paid my bills. So I had to write.
Clarify, that's not the banner.
It's not the banner. it's not the banner. And I had to do both. So I had to divide writing time for work, writing family time, and then writing time for my passion projects. And it's not easy, but it's necessary.
Yeah, and I would say like life is all about balance that Dee just referred to. And then sometimes there'll be like years where there's not a passion project because my passion is about serving something else, which becomes a passion as well. But my own personal art practice, I do worry that I find myself putting that on the back burner a little bit too much. But there are times in my life where I'm being like really creative, and it could be for a couple of years or a couple of months, and that's the season and the time for that. And then it's a season and a time for something else. And right now, the season and time for me is the 447 students that we have at Baltimore School for the Arts and the 600 students that we have in our free after school and Saturday school program called Twigs. And so I don't have a problem with negotiating that now. It did take some maturity for that to happen. So I have passion projects that I know I'll work on in 2 or 3 years from now when things might be a little bit more steady with a different landscape. And I choose to work on projects with people that I really like to work with also, that, I'm kind of done with that part of my career of I need to make money, so I'm going to suffer people that are fools. I don't have time for that. Like, I want to work with the people that I want to work with, creating the things that I want to create, and sometimes that passion is in service to other people and not my own personal self.
And one last question for you all. How are artists and educators adapting to a generation that's growing up on the internet?
That's hard. Sometimes they struggle. I mean, I really love that many schools are asking students to put away cell phones and to be present. I think what we have incorporated into our programs at Arts for Learning is mindfulness. And many of our artists start with that because what we're finding is kids have a hard time right now being disconnected from their phone and being present in their bodies, and it's creating so much anxiety. And so we've had to really train all of our artists and teacher partners in, at the beginning, just being connected to breath, being connected to body, setting an intention, which many artists adopt in their own craft anyway. And so that's one thing that I find our artists are doing. which I think is helpful just in terms of mental health as well for our kids.
I try to, oh, you go, sorry. No, you go.
I was just going to say, I think educators have to continue to work to find a way that we do not become obsolete. Because you have so many things that you need as far as information right there in a piece of technology. You have virtual school, you have online classes. Kids could get an education and never show up in a room in front of a teacher. So how do we find ways to make ourselves valuable and not obsolete?
I've been a professor for like 12 years, 13 years now, and I literally like seen the shift from, people needing to be locked in on their Facebooks to being full-on Instagram and TikTok junkies. And one of the things I try to do, but like through the work, is setting them up with examples so that they can see that the internet is nothing without the world. You have to live in the world. The stuff you write about, read about, tweet about, take pictures of, whatever, your sandwich, your restaurant, your fit, your workout, your routine, whatever you do, these are all you're pulling from the world. So how are we including these experiences in our art, our writing, what we create? And not to say that what people do online isn't art, it's a form of art for a whole lot of people, but what experiences are you having that you own, that you don't have to tell everybody about? What is that like, and what does it mean?
So, thank you, Stacy, Roz, Dee, and David, and thank you, audience, for listening to us today, and we had a good conversation. Thank y'all.
Thank you.